is responsive to that. So 3 things we'll talk about today. The first is activities of the association and things that you can participate in coming up. The second is a short update on state affairs. What's happening at the Capitol here in Lansing? What do we expect from the legislature? And then third, a discussion of what's happening in Washington, D.C. and around the world in terms of the policy landscape and how specifically does Michigan play a role in that? How does MABA play a role in that as well? I'll start by giving you an overview of what we got going on. So to set the scene, we have had very strong participation this year, and I appreciate everybody on the call for sticking with us as members, stepping up as sponsors. We've seen strong support for the association in that way, and we're proud of it. But we also know that we need to continue to lean in and to be present with you all, especially in the communities where you live and work. And that's why we're really focused on hitting the road this year. Getting out to visit you. We have for 5 or 6 years, but I want to make sure we're really leaning in this year. We're going to start as soon as next week. We're actually going to get in the car and head up to Bad Axe on Friday, March 27th for a lunch listening session with any member that wants to join us at the Peppermill Restaurant. And then actually the day before, Thursday, March 26th, we'll be in Jackson at the Harvest Solar headquarters. Again, we'll have some sandwiches, maybe an opportunity to meet our team and just hear a little bit about MABA and what we are doing. In addition, we will have our Ag Club breakfasts that we're taking out of Lansing. So we'll be in Lansing a little bit, but I want to get us out to our member locations and partner locations around the state. Our next one of those is going to occur on April 17th on Michigan's West Coast, Hart, asparagus capital of the world. We'll be over at the MSU West Central Research Station alongside our friends at the Michigan Asparagus Association and spotlight that important industry for our state, one we can't lose and one we're being very thoughtful about creating a strong future for. In May, we're going to come back to Lansing, and on May 12th, we will have our Lansing Ag Club breakfast. In addition to that, that same day, right after breakfast, we are bringing back an outfit called People Spark Consulting. You might remember them from the Winter Conference. They did a whole session on workplace communication, coordination skills, and things of that nature that a lot of our managers found really helpful. And for those that are able to be down on May 12th, we'd love to have you in for that at no cost to you. Also recognize that's a busy time for some. And so there will be people that cannot attend, won't be able to make it. We're going to continue to provide those types of opportunities later in the year as well. But we didn't think that we should take May off. We wanted to continue to lean into some opportunities. If you have people that have got the ability to spend some time with us for a couple hours that morning of the 12th, we'd love to have them. We're then going to hit the road again over the summer in June. On June 26th, we're going to head up to Morgan Composting in Sears. In July 22nd, we'll head to Detroit, where we have around a dozen members and help spotlight them alongside our leadership program group that I'll touch on in a second. And then in August, we'll be back with the Agro Expo for breakfast on August 13th. Hopefully that gives you a sense of some of the different things we're going to provide in terms of networking opportunities the next few months. In terms of training and continuing education, we're going to continue our grain grading programming that we've stood up the last 2 or 3 years in partnership with North Dakota Grain Inspection. Those are coming right up, April 9th in St. John's and April 14th up in Kingston. So the Agro Liquid Conference Room on April 9th, and then on April 14th, we're going to head back to Biagio's Pizza. Really important to have anybody that has got people receiving grain, have somebody in there at one of those trainings. In addition to helping develop your people, it's also a great way to showcase our industry's commitment for Michigan farmers and farm organizations that like to see those receiving grain show up and get some training on evaluation. So again, in partnership with NDGI, and we should have a pretty good program both days, and hopefully you can have some folks get up there. Couple overarching things we got going on. I can say it. He won't mind if I say it. Ward Forker's on. He's our chairman of our Educational Trust. And he's sitting there thinking, Chuck, why don't you talk about the Educational Trust? We got to give away scholarships. Our scholarship application is online, and those applications close May 31st. So make sure if you have some young people you know that might benefit from some scholarship funds and they're pursuing a higher education degree, get them on there to do an application. In addition, we've got our scholarship golf outing, information for that. So June 16th Information for that is going to open April 1st, just like we've done the last couple of years. We're going to ask everybody to get your support for the Ed Trust in April. We've had great results with that and appreciate your partnership on the Educational Trust and the Scholarship Golf Outing. And then finally, the leadership group. We've got 10 people in the leadership group this year. It's been an awesome group. We'll have our next class kicking off later this summer in Detroit, and applications for that will also be opening here at the end of the month and run through May 31st. So you'll have a few weeks to get that application in. I hope you'll have somebody from your organization participate. If you have questions about the leadership group, you can go on our website or see me or see Kara, and we'll make sure you get some information about those things. Next, I want to talk about the state level policy issues and what we face here in Lansing. As some of you may know, we're in divided government right now. Republicans control the Michigan House with a relatively narrow majority of 3 or 4 votes. And Democrats currently control the Senate, the Michigan Senate, with a margin of 1 vote to spare. There is a special election coming up in May that will, for the Senate, that will tell us whether we'll either have a split Senate entirely or continued Democratic control of the Senate for the rest of the year. That'll happen, I think, May 5th, but early May we'll have that special election. And of course, the governor is a Democrat. No matter what happens in that Senate special election, we're going to continue with divided government this year. Typically, that means you're going to see less enacted by the legislature and sent to the governor because to get something done, both Democrats and Republicans have to come to terms on that. And we know that we're in a divided time and that can be difficult to do. It might even be more difficult to do in an election year. But there's one thing we know the legislature has got to get done, and they will, which is enacting a state budget and negotiating a state budget that Governor Whitmer will agree to and enact. And that process last year, as we know, took quite a while. We were here into the fall working on the budget and had a number of issues that are important to you all that we were able to cover off on. We anticipate work on the budget will continue as the House and Senate develop their budget drafts. And we can't have, as an organization, we can't have everything be a priority, right? There's too many different issues here in Lansing. So what we try to do, in fairness to our lawmakers, is set out some top priorities, things that are really important for us. One of those is going to make sure that we support Michigan State University and its important ag research functions. Already, several of our members and member leaders and board members have participated with MSU as it conducts education and meetings with lawmakers to talk about the important role they play. We're talking about the need to fully fund not just the ag research components, but important programs like the MAAA, the Michigan Alliance for Animal Agriculture, along with ag bioresearch and extension functions that play a really important part of our industry. We're in lockstep with MSU on that. And again, we have members really stepping up to help in that way. The second priority that we'll continue to outline is strong support for the critical functions of MDARD. By that, I don't mean every single line item in the MDARD budget. There are some things that'll be up for debate, but we try to be thoughtful about what are those things that our regulators at MDARD do that are critical for our ability to operate and critical for the success of the industry. For us, that means strong regulatory functions, full funding for the fertilizer programs and pesticide programs, inspection functions, making sure that new products and renewals can be done quickly, on time, making sure that when you have to get that RUP renewal, that gets done on time. So last year, and again this year, we'll support full funding at current levels for those offices. We're also going to be mindful, just like we were last year, that the budget does not result in unneeded additional costs for you. Last year, as you may recall, there was a last-minute proposal that would have, if it was enacted, it was not, but it would have increased industry fees by up to 40% for fertilizer tonnage and pesticide registrations, starting with this year, a 20% year-over-year increase. And thanks to partnership with general farm organizations and commodity groups and leadership from bipartisan lawmakers in Lansing, we were able to put a stop to that and prevent additional industry fees during a really uncertain time in our industry. I don't have anything specific to share on fees right now, other than to say, that those fees were renewed for several years. So we certainly don't think we'll be in the same boat this year during budget time, but it's always something we're thinking about and watching very closely to make sure that you don't come out of budget time with additional costs for your business or the farmers you serve. Beyond the budget, we don't assess that there's going to be a whole lot of legislation that moves. I mean, some of you are on from our state affairs group. Some companies have dedicated government affairs folks, and they know I've shared with those folks that you're just not going to see a whole lot advance to the governor's desk because of those partisan divides in Lansing. But some things may. There are a number of bills that we are keeping eyes on and working with bill sponsors on, just to be sure that anything that passes both chambers of the legislature doesn't negatively affect our members, or if there's bills that would help our members, we're going to be sure they know that too. We do have confidence that the Speaker and the Senate leadership and the governor will get to a budget deal and get something enacted, just like they did last year. It will take some time and some doing, and we'll be your voice throughout that process. Last but not least, certainly not least, I want to talk about the broader federal and global landscape. And I want to zero in on what's MABA do with all of this, right? How does the Michigan Agri-Business Association help navigate a time of nearly unprecedented volatility and market uncertainty and news that's changing by the day? I'm certain if we all looked at the news here at the end of this call, we would find that something has changed. We certainly, in our little office in Lansing, don't have a magic solution or a button we can push to resolve the many and varied concerns of Michigan farmers and our business members, all of whom are trying to work together to make sure Michigan ag is successful and growing. But what we can do a few things. One, we can continue to try to communicate as best we can to all of you in as many ways as possible when we hear things. That means making sure we continue our twice-a-week newsletter and getting people that information if they're not getting it. You can also get it by text message, by the way, information on our website. Doing calls like this one, interacting with our members at some of those events we just talked about. I can tell you, if you see me out there in the countryside, or if you call me, or if you raise your hand on this call and bring up an issue, there's a very good chance we are going to take what you tell us and either act on it if we can, or run it up the chain to our national groups if we cannot, to make sure it is part of the discussion. I think it's very important for you all to know that we're in very close coordination right now with not just our in-state partners in agriculture, farm groups and others, but our national organizations as well. Professionals like the National Grain and Feed Association, CropLife America, the Fertilizer Institute, the Ag Retailers Association, and there are others, to be sure that when members of Congress, or even sometimes when state officials, have questions about things like fertilizer markets, that they're getting good information from experts that illustrates the complexity of these topics, rather than whatever might be on my mind, right? We're trying to connect them in with economists and experts that are doing this work 24/7 in very specialized ways. So for example, if you are a state lawmaker and you have a question about grain markets, we're getting you to somebody at the NGFA. If you've got a question about fertilizer, as you can imagine, there's a lot of questions about fertilizer coming from government officials and the press right now. We're helping to loop you in with the Fertilizer Institute and their economists. We just actually had an opportunity a couple weeks ago to get TFI engaged with the Michigan press, just to help to outline both for our industry and for regular Michiganders that don't farm or aren't involved in agriculture, the volatility and uncertainty that's out there. I think that's a role we can play that's real and meaningful, helping to make sure that everybody involved in the conversation has good information. One of the most important things during a fast-moving time is to be sure that those making policy understand the ramifications of what they're working on and have good, up-to-date insights and information. Last example of this I'll give, some of you saw this, I sent it out, I think, in our AgFacts newsletter and also to our committees. We did join last week the Ag Retailers Association and 23 other state agribusiness associations in a letter to President Trump and White House officials with a number of potential remedies specific to crop input supplies during this unprecedented and uncertain time. Happy to share that with you. It's also online. You can Google Ag Retailers Association letter. And if you want that after we wrap up, I'm more than happy to provide it to you. But I think it's very important for your association to be engaged in appropriate ways nationally. I want you all to know, to maybe close that piece out, we're not going to go rogue out here or sort of try to make up facts as we go. Our expertise really lies here in Lansing, right? You can count on me to be your voice at the state capitol and to make sure that we don't miss anything moving through the legislature. You can also count on me to help support our national groups and be your link into the conversation in Washington and interact with our Michigan members of Congress. But we want to make sure that there's very close coordination. And we're pretty proud of the coordination between our group, Michigan Farm Groups, our national organizations, as the industry tries to move ahead. A couple of issues that I see coming at the federal level. One is I don't want us to lose sight of the renewal process for the USMCA trade agreement. That's one where Michigan has a really important role to play. And we've helped to sort of take some advantage or lever that to be part of the conversation. We want to see USMCA renewed on a North American basis. This is incredibly important for Michigan agriculture, which exports around $3 billion worth of products on an annual basis, 42% by value going to Canada, around 15 to 20% headed to Mexico, including some exports that we're really proud of, like dry beans. We want to be sure to maintain that. We want to leave the president room to negotiate. We certainly don't subscribe to the idea that President Trump shouldn't make any changes to the USMCA, but we want to see it at the end of the day renewed as a North American trade agreement, not a series of bilateral trade agreements. That's aligned with policy being led by a national coalition called Agriculture for USMCA that you can go read about. I do think it's important for Michigan to add its unique voice because if you look at a map and think through where commerce heads in North America, Michigan's the hub for North American trade and travel and commerce. And that's only going to increase once the Gordie Howe International Bridge opens. As some of you may have seen a week or two ago, the Windsor Detroit Bridge Authority announced its toll structure for the bridge for commercial vehicles. It's going to be a substantial reduction from what commercial motor vehicles currently pay at the Ambassador Bridge. And if you've seen the Gordie Howe and some of the information behind it, it's a modern facility. It's equipped to handle the substantial trade and export opportunities between Michigan and Ontario. And we're certainly hopeful and believe the bridge is going to open relatively soon. But you can expect MABA to continue to lend our voice on trade. And I think we have a unique one. So we may be calling on some of you on that topic. The last thing, I don't have anything to share in terms of position or things we're doing today, but I would encourage you to read your Ag Facts tonight. We'll have a little bit more on the supplemental that's being reported on pretty widely, federal supplemental appropriations bill to fund the Middle East combat operations, but which may also result in some additional funding to farmers in Michigan and across America struggling with the current economic circumstance. So I don't have a lot on that right now, but I would encourage you to be watching that, and we'll have some press on it in our AgFacts newsletter and for others. Maybe to close this out, I think I said I would take 10 minutes, and those that know me, I guess, well enough know that you won't be surprised that I took 20. So thanks for humoring me. But I think this stuff is important, and you all support us with your pocketbooks and also your time, and we owe you proactive efforts, and we owe you an effort to get out there and be engaged with folks. And I hope that you'll see through our different events and things that we've got listed coming up that we're really trying to be aggressive on that. If you have ideas, places we need to be, things we need to do, please let me know, and I will be there, or we'll have Kara from the team or one of our other partners out there to represent the association here throughout the year. Thanks for your support. We'll keep doing these as long as they're useful. And for right now, I think I'll wrap up and call for any questions. And I